Good day, everyone. So our lecture for today focuses on the types of propositions. All right. Before our midterm, we focus on the first mental operation, and that is simple apprehension. And what is the mental product of simple apprehension? That is what we call the term, right? Now, as we move on to the finals, we're going to proceed to the discussion on the second mental operation, and that is judgment. The mental operation of judgment is what we call proposition, right? So let me share to you my PowerPoint presentation regarding proposition and its types. All right. So we have types of propositions. But first, before we discuss the types of propositions, we first discuss the definition of proposition. A proposition is a declarative sentence. All right. It is a declarative sentence. It has a subject and a predicate. Right. So back in your elementary days and also in your high school, you have discussed the parts of a common sentence, and that is a subject and a predicate. Okay. The subject is what is being talked about, whereas the predicate is what modifies or what describes the sentence, the subject. Okay. So proposition is an expressed logical judgment. All right. So this is an ideal setup of a proposition. Okay. Peter is running. Peter is running. The subject here is Peter. All right. The predicate here is running, and is here is the linking verb or the copula. Okay. So this is the ideal setup of a proposition. It has a subject, it has a linking verb or a copula, and it has a predicate. All right. So here we have here the subject. In the subject identifies the quantity of that particular proposition. What are the quantities? Now, the types of quantity we have here the universal. Okay, the universal and particular. So the types of quantity that is found in a subject are universal and particular. So in our example, Peter is running. This can be considered as universal. Okay, because it does not apply to a particular part of a whole. Okay, usually universal propositions with universal quantity have these keywords in their subject. We have every, all, each, subject. Okay, so for example, every Polinian is intelligent. All right. So every Polinian there is the subject, and the quantity is universal because it makes use of the word every. Okay, every Polinian. Another example, all Ilocanos are industrious. Okay, so that proposition has a universal quantity because the subject makes use of the word all. All Ilocanos. Okay, another example, each of the Bigueños is handsome or beautiful. Okay, so each of the Bigueños is the subject. Therefore, the quantity of that proposition is universal. The second type of quantity is what we call particular. It makes use of the word many, most, several. Okay, so for example, when we convert our example a while ago into a particular subject, our sentence would be some Polinians are intelligent. Okay, that is a proposition with a particular quantity because the subject makes use of the word some. Okay, some Polinians or many Ilocanos are industrious. Okay, that proposition has a particular quantity because the subject many Ilocanos, okay, it is a particular subject that quantity is particular. Okay, many Ilocanos. All right. Now, what about the quality? Now, quality is found in the copula. The types of quality are positive and negative. All right. So when we say positive, the linking verbs that we use here are is or are. Okay. And when we say negative, the linking verb that we use or the copula that we use is not or are not. Okay, so negative. The word speaks up for itself. There is a negation. Okay, of that linking verb. All right. So we're gonna dig down deeper into that particular topic later on as we move forward. Now, first, we move on to the types of propositions. All right. The types of propositions are um, hypothetical propositions and categorical propositions. These are the two types of propositions. Okay. Under hypothetical, we have first conjunctive, second disjunctive, third conditional, and fourth tautologous. Okay. And under categorical, we have the A proposition, E proposition, I proposition, and O proposition. Okay, so let's dig deeper into the first type of proposition, that is hypothetical proposition. What is a hypothetical proposition? Well, a hypothetical proposition is a proposition that would need another proposition for a logical relation. All right, this is otherwise known as the relative proposition. Okay, so in a nutshell, hypothetical propositions are those which indicate relations. Okay, one object is related to another object. That is what we call hypothetical proposition. The first type of hypothetical proposition is what we call conjunctive proposition. It makes use of the word and. Okay, that is the conjunction and. Okay, it is symbolized by the symbol dot. Okay, so for example, we have two objects. Say we represent them as P and Q. Okay, so how do we symbolically express that? No, if we use a conjunctive proposition, that would be P dot Q. Okay, all right. So an example, concrete example. Say for example, one object is mangoes. Okay, the other object is oranges. Okay, so if we create a conjunctive proposition, we use of the word and. Okay, that is the conjunction, the word and. All right, so when we combine them together and form one proposition, that would be, I am buying mangoes and oranges. All right, so when you symbolically express that, that would be mangoes dot oranges. Okay, mangoes dot oranges. All right, other examples of conjunctive propositions. Okay, there you can think of any topic under the sun, anything under the sun, that for you to create a conjunctive proposition. Okay, for example, no, the front runners, no, in the elections are Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Leni Robredo. Okay, so Bongbong Marcos and Leni Robredo are the two persons who are being combined in that conjunctive proposition. Okay, and it makes use of the word and as a conjunctive word. All right, so that is a type of a conjunctive proposition. Okay, another example, the requirements for the growth of a plant are rain and sunlight. Okay, so rain and sunlight, you put them together through the conjunctive word and, you would create a conjunctive proposition. So the key word here is and, that conjunctive word. Okay, now we move on to the second type of hypothetical proposition. What is the second type of hypothetical proposition? That is what we call the disjunctive proposition. When we say disjunctive propositions, these are propositions which make use of the words either or. Okay, disjunction. So when we say disjunctive proposition, there is an alternative. You may choose one option over another. You may choose the other option over the other option. Okay, so alternative, because we make use of the words either or. All right, the symbol that we use here is wedge or V. Okay, so for example, when we have two things or two topics or two objects in one proposition, and then we make use of the words either or, how do we symbolically represent them? For example, one object is represented by P, the other object is represented by Q. Okay, so how do we make a disjunctive proposition? Well, you can symbolically express that by using P vel Q. Okay, V is pronounced as vel. Okay, P vel Q. All right, so to put it more concretely, let us make a concrete sentence. Okay, in the PowerPoint, the sentence there is as follows. The figure is either square or circle. All right, either square or circle. So clearly this proposition is disjunctive because it makes use of the word either or. All right. So when we symbolically express that, that would be square, vel, circle. Okay, square, vel, circle. Can you give other examples on your own? Well, other examples, concrete examples, any topic under the sun, anything. Since it is election time right now, we can make use of the word. We can make use of the alternative options of candidates. No, example, the presidential candidate who will win is either Bongbong Marcos or Vice President Leni Robredo. Okay, so either or that manifests a disjunction or an alternative. Okay, another example. Another example. I am either a student or a child in the family. So either a student or a child in the family. Okay. So you can think of any more examples, anything under the sun, in order for you to create a disjunctive proposition for as long as you make use of the word either or. All right. The third type of hypothetical proposition is what we call the conditional proposition. Okay. Conditional proposition connotes a condition. Okay. From the name itself, there is a condition and there is an effect. There is a result. There is a cause, there is an effect, or a result. All right. So these types of propositions is indicated by the words if and then. Okay. If then. These are also known as if then propositions. Okay. So the symbol that we use for conditional propositions is what we call the horseshoe. Horseshoe. Okay. So for example, if you have two objects represented by letters P and Q, it would be symbolically expressed as P horseshoe Q. All right. P here is what we call the antecedent. Okay. And Q is what we call the consequent. Okay. That clause that is preceded by the word if is what we call the antecedent, okay, the if clause. Whereas the other clause, which is preceded by the word then, the then clause is what we call the consequent, okay? So example, in the sentence in our PowerPoint presentation, we have as follows. If Thomas is hungry, then he eats, okay? So the antecedent in that sentence is if Thomas is hungry, okay? That is what we call the if clause. Okay, and the consequent in that particular proposition is what we call is then he eats. Okay, so in short, the condition here is if Thomas is hungry, and the consequence or the effect, the result is then he eats. Okay, can you give other examples on your own of if then propositions? Okay, if then propositions, other examples. If I, for example, if I register with the commissions on elections, then I will be able to vote on the upcoming elections. All right. So the if clause there in the proposition is that antecedent. That is the condition, the antecedent. That is if I will be able to register with the Commission on Elections. All right. Now, what about the consequent of that proposition? The consequent would be then I will be able to vote on the upcoming elections. All right. So, basta yung if proposition, that clause which is preceded by the word if, that is what we call the antecedent. Okay. The other clause that is preceded by the word then is what we call the consequent or the effect or result. Okay. Other examples, no? If I will study hard, then I will be able to graduate on time. Okay, so the condition in that proposition is if I will study hard. Okay, that is the antecedent. Okay, how about the consequent? What is the consequent in that proposition? Then I will be able to graduate on time. Okay, that is the consequent. Okay, those are examples of conditional propositions. Okay, that is very easy, no? For as long as you identify the keywords that is if then, you would be able to identify it as a conditional proposition. All right, and the last type of hypothetical proposition is what we call the tautologous proposition. What are tautologous propositions? These are propositions which are absolute conditional, or also known as equivalent propositions. No, they make use of the words if and only if. So when you say tautology, there is exact similarity, no, exact sameness. Okay, this is symbolized by the symbol 3 bars, horizontal bars, no, which means absolute equal. Okay, so if we have two things, for example, those that are represented by two things represented by the letters P and Q, it would be symbolically expressed as P if and only if Q. Okay, so it is P if and only if Q. Okay. All right. So the key word here in tautologous propositions is if and only if. Okay. The example in your PowerPoint is as follows. Vico is of legal age if and only if he is above 18 years old. All right. So legal age, okay, and above 18 years old are two similar things. Okay, they are exactly the same. Legal age above 18 years old. Okay, and therefore, if you put them together, you would create an absolute equality. Okay, and you would create therefore a tautologous proposition. Okay, another example. Another example. John has a fever if and only if his temperature is above 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the two things there in that sentence which are being connected by the words if and only if are fever and a temperature above 37 degrees Celsius, right? These are exactly the same things. That is why if you connect them together, you would create a tautologous proposition. All right, so to review, let's go back. Review. For conjunctive propositions, we make use of the conjunctive word and, A and D. Okay, so it is symbolically expressed as P dot Q. All right. When we say disjunctive propositions, the keywords that we use here are either or because it connotes an alternative options. Okay, it is symbolically expressed as P vel Q. How about conditional propositions? Conditional propositions are those propositions with the words if then. Okay, it connotes conditions that would indicate a consequence or an effect. Okay, there is a cause and effect, there is a condition or antecedent and a consequent. Okay, so we make use of the word if and then. Okay, so if we symbolically express it, it would be P horseshoe Q. Okay, the P is the antecedent, it is preceded by the word if, and Q is the consequent, which is preceded by the word then. Okay, if then propositions. And lastly, we have tautologous propositions. Tautologous propositions are those which are equivalent propositions, those that connote absolute equivalence. Like for example, those sentences which are indicated by the words if and only if. All right, it is symbolically expressed as it is P if and only if Q. Okay. All right, so those are the types of hypothetical propositions: conjunctive, disjunctive, conditional, and tautologous. Now we move on to categorical propositions. What are categorical propositions? Categorical propositions are factual statements. These express a logical relation on its own. Okay, it can stand on its own. It states a fact, and it is what we call the absolute proposition. So if hypothetical propositions indicate relations, there has to be some relations between one thing and another thing. In categorical propositions, these are absolute propositions because they only state facts. Okay? All right. So before we move on to the types of categorical propositions, we first look into the parts. No, we review the parts of a proposition. We have the subject and the predicate. Of course, we have already learned that subject, predicate, and then there is also the copula or the linking verb. Okay, the other word for linking verb is copula. Okay, all right. So again, when we say quantity, there are two types of quantity. We have universal and particular. Okay, when we say universal, these are indicated by the words every, all, each. Okay, example, all Paulinians are beautiful or intelligent. Okay, when we say particular, particular propositions are those with the words many, most, or several, or some. Okay, example, many Paulinians are kind, or some Ilocanos are industrious. Okay, or several coconuts are delicious. Okay, these are examples of particular or propositions with particular quantity. Okay, what about quality? Quality are those that are either positive or negative. No, so this is indicated by the copula or the linking verb. So when you identify the quality, look at the copula or the linking verb. It is a positive. It has positive quality if it is it makes use of the linking verb is or are. But if it is negative, if it makes use of the words is not or are not. Okay, negative. Okay. So in this sentence, Peter is running. The quality is positive. Okay, because the linking verb that is used in this sentence is the word is. Okay. How about if I say Peter is not running? What is the quality? Then the quality of that proposition would be negative. Okay. All right. So in a categorical proposition, quantity and quality are always determined. The combination of these two consists of the categorical type. All right. So we move on now to the types of categorical propositions. What are the types of categorical propositions? We have A, E, I, and O propositions. Okay. When we say A propositions, the quantity of this proposition is universal. All right. And the quality is positive. Okay. So A propositions are universal positive propositions. Okay. So the syntax or the format of that A proposition are as follows. Every S is P, or each S is P, or all S are P. Okay. Example. Okay, our example in the PowerPoint, every man is rational. Okay, ibig sabihin lahat ng tao ay rational daw. Lahat ng tao ay matalino. Okay. I'll give other examples. Other examples would be all the grasses are green. Okay, all the grasses are green. What is the subject in that sentence? The subject is grasses. No. What is the predicate? The predicate is green. Okay. And what is the linking verb or the copula? The linking verb of the copula is the word is, right? So all grasses are, or sorry, the linking verb is are, no? So all grasses are green. Okay. So now let us identify the quantity of that particular sentence. The quantity is either universal or particular. Okay. So let's look at the subject. The subject is all grasses. Okay, all grasses. What is the quantity? Okay, the quantity there is universal. Why? Because it makes use of the word all grasses. Okay, so that is universal. How about the quality? When we identify the quality, let us look into the copula, okay, or the linking verb. The linking verb that we use there is the word are. Okay, so that is are is positive because it is not negated by the word not, or it does not show any negation. So in the sentence, all grasses are green, that is a type of an A proposition because it has universal quantity, all grasses, and it has positive quality, right? So that is what we call an A proposition. In this sentence, every man is rational. What is the subject? The subject there is every man, right? What about the predicate? The predicate is rational, right? What about the copula or the linking verb? The copula or the linking verb there is the word is. Okay? So, let us now identify the quantity. What is the quantity of that sentence, every man is rational? Okay? The quantity is universal. Why? Because it makes use of the word every man. Okay? What about the quality? So when we identify the quality, look at the copula. That is the word is. Okay? So that is, the quality is positive. Okay, positive. So since this sentence, every man is rational, is a universal positive proposition, it is an A proposition. Okay? All right. In the example, all Polinians are beautiful. The subject is all Polinians. Okay? The predicate is beautiful. All right? The quantity is universal because it makes use of the word all Polinians. The quality is positive because it makes use of the linking verb is. Are. All Polinians are beautiful. Okay. Now let's move on to the second type of proposition, and that is what we call the E proposition. Okay, so if the A proposition is universal positive, this type of proposition, E proposition, is universal negative. Universal negative. Okay, the quantity is universal, but the quality is negative. Okay, so the syntax or the format is as follows. Okay, every S is not P. Okay, each S is not P. Okay, all S are not P, or no S is P. Okay, no S is P. Okay, take note that the format no S is P is E proposition. Okay, because the subject is universal, but the quality is negative. Okay, so you look at the subject if you are identifying the quantity. Okay, in the quantity, since we make use of the word every, each, and all, the quantity is universal. Okay, but when we identify the quality, look at the copula or the linking verb. The copula or the linking verb in this sentence is not or are not. No, so since there is a negative quality, then this would be identified as E proposition. Universal quantity and negative quality. Example, every dog is not a fish. Okay, every dog is not a fish. Okay, so this means that the subject is totally excluded from the predicate. Okay, what is the subject in this particular sentence? The subject is dog, right? Dog, every dog. What is the predicate? Okay, the predicate is a fish. Okay, so what is the copula or the linking verb? The copula is not, right? Is not. Okay, so let's now identify the quantity of that proposition. When we identify the quantity, we look at the subject. The subject is every dog. Now, so since it makes use of the word every, then the quantity would be universal. Okay. Now let's identify the quality. Okay. When we identify the quality, we look at the copula or the linking verb. Since the copula is not, no, then the quality would be negative. Okay. Since that proposition has universal quantity and negative quality, we put them together, universal negative, then we have an E proposition. Okay. All right. Now, what about the I propositions? Okay, I propositions are those whose quantity is particular and the quality is positive. Okay, so the standard syntax, we may make use of the following words: some, many, several, more, few, lesser. Okay, example, some SRP or many SRP. Okay, example. An example would be Some fishes are poisonous. Some fishes are poisonous. What is the subject in that sentence? The subject is fishes. Okay, some fishes. How about the predicate? The predicate is poisonous. How about the linking verb or the copula? The copula is are, the word are, no? Ayan. So some fishes are poisonous. Now, what is the quantity? When we identify the quantity, we look at the subject. The subject is some fishes. Okay. What is the word that has been used to modify fishes? The word that we use is some. Okay, so that indicates a particular quantity. So the quantity is particular. Now, what about the quality? When we identify the quality, we look at the linking verb or the copula, and that is the word are. Okay, so since are is positive, the quality is positive. Okay, so when we put them together, a particular quantity and a positive quality, that is an I proposition. Okay, I proposition. All right. Now, what about the O proposition? O propositions are those whose quantity is particular and the quality is negative. Okay, so the standard syntax are as follows: some S are not P, many S are not P, several S are not P, and so on and so forth. Okay, and the other formats are as follows: not all S are P, and then some S are not P. Okay, some S are not P. Okay, so an example in the PowerPoint is as follows: some babies are not crybabies. So in this sentence, what is the subject? Okay, the subject is some babies. All right, what is the predicate? The predicate is crybabies. What is the linking verb or the linking verb or the copula? The linking verb or the copula is are not. Okay, so let's identify the quantity. When we identify the quantity, we look into the subject. The subject is some crybabies. Okay, so we made use of the word some, and therefore the quantity is particular. Okay, because it makes use of the word some. Now, what about the quality? When we identify the quality, we look into the copula or the linking verb. The copula or the linking verb used in this sentence is are not, right? So since the word is are not, it indicates that there is a negative quality. So when we put them together, a particular quantity and a negative quality, that we create an O proposition. Okay, so O propositions are those that the subject is partially excluded from the predicate. Okay, some babies are not crybabies. That means that some babies are partially excluded from the crybabies. Okay, some babies are not crybabies. Okay, you may also convert that into the following format. No, not all babies are crybabies, or some babies are not crybabies. Okay. All right. So let's have some exercise. Let's have some exercise in converting a type of proposition to another type of proposition. Okay, let's make use of this word of this proposition. Every man is rational. Okay, so every man is rational is an A proposition. Let's convert this sentence into EIO propositions. Okay, so I'm going to share to you Microsoft Word, so we can have a clearer exercise. All right, so we can demonstrate to more clearly the conversion of one proposition to another. So our example here is every man is rational. Okay, every man is rational. What is the subject? The subject is man. Okay, the predicate is rational. The linking verb we use is. Okay, so let's convert that into an E proposition. Convert to E proposition. E propositions are universal negative propositions. Okay, universal negative propositions. Okay, so to have a universal quantity, we may also make use of the word every. So every man is, but it has a negative quality. So we make use of the linking verb is not. Okay, is not rational. All right, so the E proposition would be every man is not rational. Now let's convert to I proposition. I proposition. Okay. So an I proposition has a particular quantity and positive quality. Okay. So particular. So we make use of the word some, no? Some to indicate that there is a particular quantity. Example, some men, okay? And it has a positive quality so that the linking verb should be positive as well. Okay, some men are rational. Okay, so that is the I proposition, some men are rational. Now what about convert to O proposition? A proposition, convert to O proposition. Uh, uh, it should have a particular quantity and a negative quality. So particular quantity. We also make use of the word some men. How about negative quality? We make use of that negative linking verb, are not rational. Okay, so that the O proposition would be some men are not rational. Or we can make use of the other format, and that is not all men are rational. Okay, not all men are rational. All right. Okay, let's give another example. Okay, the example a while ago was every dog is not a fish. Okay, so every dog. So this is the first example is every man is rational. The second example, every dog is not a fish. Okay, this proposition is an E proposition. Okay, E proposition. Let's convert this to a proposition. How do we convert that to a proposition? Okay, an A proposition should have a universal quantity and a positive quality. Okay, so we also make use of the word every in order to indicate a universal quantity, but we make use of the linking verb is, okay, in order to have a positive quality. So every dog is a fish. That is the A proposition. Now let's convert it to I proposition. What about I proposition? Okay, we make use of the word some in order to indicate a particular quantity. Okay, so an I proposition has a particular quantity and a positive quality. So particular quantity that would make some dogs. Okay, some dogs. Okay, and it should have a positive quality. So let's make use of the positive linking verb are. Okay, some dogs are fishes. Okay, some dogs are fishes. Okay, okay. In order for you to have a correct grammar, it should be in the plural if you make use of the particular quantity. Okay, some dogs are fishes. Okay, not some dog is fishes. That is wrong grammar. No, that is a grammatical error. So in order for you to have a sound grammar, you should make use of a plural verbs. That is, some dogs are fishes. Okay. Now let's convert it to O proposition. O proposition. All right. An O proposition has a particular quantity and a negative quality. Okay, so a particular quantity, how do you make that a particular quantity? You make use of the word some. Okay, some dogs. Okay, and a negative quality, you make use of the linking verbs are not. Okay, some dogs are not fishes. Okay, or not all dogs are fishes. Okay. Okay. Take note that in E propositions, you may also use the word this format. No man is rational. No man is rational. That is also acceptable. Okay. Third example. Okay. Third example in the PowerPoint is some fishes are poisonous. Some fishes are poisonous. Okay. What type of proposition again is this? This is an I proposition because some fishes indicates a particular quantity and are indicates positive quality. So particular positive, that is an I proposition. Okay, I proposition. Now, let's convert this to an A proposition. How do you convert that into an A proposition? Okay. We make use of the word all. Okay, for example, all. All fishes are poisonous. Okay, because the word all indicates universal quantity, all fishes. And of course, the word are, the linking verb, is positive. Okay, so universal positive makes it an A proposition. Now, let's convert it to an E proposition. Okay. So E proposition, it makes use of the universal quantity and of course a negative quality. So universal negative. Okay, so in order for us to have universal quantity, let's make use of the word all fishes. But this time we have a negative quality. So all fishes are not poisonous. Okay, that is an E proposition. Now let's convert this to O proposition. Okay, how do you convert that to an O proposition? Okay, we also make use of the word some in order to indicate a particular quantity. So some fishes, okay, but this time a negative quality because it is an O proposition, particular negative. So some fishes are not poisonous. Okay, or the other syntax or format is not all dogs are not all fishes are poisonous. Okay. Okay, and last example in the PowerPoint, some babies are not crybabies. All right. So some babies, the fourth example, some babies are not crybabies. All right. So here, no, we have here a particular quantity that is some babies, and then we have a negative quality that is, we use the word are not. Okay, so this type of proposition is an O proposition because it has a particular quantity and a negative quality. So let's convert this to an A proposition. How do you convert that to A proposition? It should have a universal quantity and positive quality. Okay, so some babies you convert that to a positive to a universal quantity. That would be every baby or all babies, no? All babies. Okay, and then positive quality. That would be, we make use of the positive linking verb are. Okay, so the A proposition now would be all babies are cry babies, or every baby is a cry baby. Okay, yeah. How about when we convert this to an E proposition? An E proposition has a universal quantity and a negative quality. So we have all babies, that is a universal quantity, are not cry babies. Okay, or no baby. Okay, no baby is a cry baby. Okay, now let's convert it to an I proposition. So an I proposition has a particular quantity and a positive quality. Okay, so let's make use of the word some because it indicates a particular quantity. So some babies, and then we make use of the positive quality. Some babies are cry babies. Okay. So that's how you convert one type of proposition to other types of propositions. Okay, so what you need to remember is you only need to take into consideration the different formats or the syntax that are placed in the PowerPoint in order for you to identify an A, E, I, and O proposition. Okay. All right, so that is all for our discussion for the types of propositions. Again, let's have a recap. All right, for the hypothetical propositions, for the hypothetical propositions, which indicate these are propositions which indicate a relation. Okay, the types of propositions, hypothetical propositions are conjunctive propositions which make use of the word and, disjunctive proposition which makes use of the word either or, conditional propositions which are the if-then propositions, and tautologous propositions which indicate absolute equivalence or equality, and is indicated by the words if and only if. All right. Now, what about the categorical propositions? The categorical propositions are the A, E, I, O propositions. When we say A propositions, these are universal positive propositions, universal quantity and a positive quality. E propositions are those with universal quantity and negative quality. I propositions are those with particular quantity and positive quality. And then O propositions are those with particular quantity and negative quality. All right? All right. So, in order for you to remember which is which, I give you some mnemonics or keywords, and these are the words affirmo and nego. So affirmo, these are the propositions with positive quality. Affirmo. So in that affirmo, there are the letters A and I. No, it contains the letters A and I. So A propositions and I propositions are those props which have positive qualities. Whereas the other keyword is nego. So in the word nego, it has the word, it contains the letters E and O. No? So E propositions and O propositions are propositions with negative qualities. Okay. All right. All right. So those are the types of propositions, categorical and hypothetical propositions. Please answer your quiz in the posted in your Google Classroom. The deadline will be on Friday, May 13 at 11:59 p.m. All right. So if you have any questions, please send me a message. If you need to clarify something that is vague in our discussion, please do send me a message. All right. And you may, I understand that you have already your limited face-to-face classes. So I'm making this innovation in order for us to, at least for you to have some clarified discussion on our topic. Okay, we had a discussion in sections A and B, okay, because they didn't have a limited face-to-face class last Saturday, but I'm making this special consideration for section C and our some irregular students who were not able to attend last Saturday. All right, so that is all. Thank you very much, and I hope you would be able to submit your quiz on Saturday. On Friday night at 11:59 p.m. Okay. So thank you and God bless. Have a nice week ahead.